I never imagined my life would shrink to the size of a hospital bed. Yet here I was, sitting beside my husband, watching him slowly fade away. Arnold lay motionless, his breathing shallow, his once powerful body reduced to frail bones under pale skin. Just a few weeks ago, he was laughing, teasing me about burning toast or spending too much time answering emails. Now he barely opened his eyes, and when he did, there was fear behind them. I tried to smile, even though my hands were trembling. "Hey," I whispered, brushing his forehead with my fingers. "I made your favorite soup." He didn't respond. His lips parted, but no words came out. It felt like a knife twisting inside my chest. I kept cooking every evening after work, even when I was exhausted, even when I had business meetings running late and clients calling nonstop. Arnold always loved homemade food. He said it made him feel like he belonged somewhere, like life was more than struggle and responsibility. I wanted to give him that feeling again. I needed to, because deep down, I believed that if I stopped trying, he would give up completely. People always told us we were an odd couple. I was the successful one, the woman with her own business, employees, contracts, dress suits, and a schedule packed from morning to night. Arnold, he used to be a fitness trainer at a local gym, energetic, charming, joking with everyone. That's where we met. I joined because a friend insisted I needed to stop working myself into an early grave. On my second visit, Arnold walked up to me, towel over his shoulder, grin on his face. "You look like someone who refuses to ask for help," he said. I remember raising an eyebrow. "I don't need help." "Sure," he laughed. "Then let me show you how not to break your spine on that machine." He corrected my posture, talked about nutrition, made jokes about protein shakes tasting like sadness. And then, out of nowhere, he asked, "Want to get coffee after this?" I stared at him, stunned. Men usually avoided asking me out. My reputation, wealth, confidence, it intimidated them. But Arnold didn't seem to care. "Why?" I asked cautiously. He shrugged. "You look interesting and tired. I think I can fix one of those." I laughed for the first time in weeks. We went for coffee, and then another. And somehow, despite our completely different worlds, we clicked. He didn't care about my money. He showed up with wildflowers he picked near the gym, cooked me pasta from cheap ingredients, and talked about dreams instead of bank accounts. Within a year, we were married. Now sitting beside him, I wondered if I was losing him forever. His voice, once loud and full of energy, was now barely a whisper. "Kira." "Yes, love?" He swallowed painfully. "Sorry, I can't eat." "It's okay," I said, forcing cheerfulness. "Maybe later. I'll keep it warm." He tried to smile, but it looked more like a grimace. His decline had started during a celebratory dinner. We were surrounded by friends, wine glasses clinking, music playing. He suddenly clutched his stomach, his face turning white, then collapsed onto the floor. The memory still haunted me. His body shaking, people screaming, the ambulance sirens, the doctors' faces after the tests. That cold sentence, "He needs immediate surgery abroad. If he doesn't receive it, he may not survive." I felt like the ground disappeared beneath me. The cost was enormous. Even selling my company wouldn't fully cover it. But I was ready. I signed documents, contacted buyers, arranged meetings. My employees begged me to reconsider, but nothing mattered more than saving Arnold. He noticed. One evening, while I organized paperwork at the kitchen table, he spoke with surprising clarity. "Kira, please hurry. The clinic might reject me if we delay." "I know." I whispered, holding back tears. I'm doing everything I can. I don't want to die because of bureaucracy. You won't. I said it with certainty I didn't feel. But then everything shattered. The night I came home early, exhausted but hopeful, I opened the apartment door quietly. I planned to surprise Arnold with his favorite dessert. Instead, I froze in the hallway. His voice came from the bedroom, stronger than it had been in days. He was on the phone. "No, Rick, she believes everything," he said, sounding annoyed. "She's selling the business. We just need the money transferred. Then we disappear." My heart stopped. My hands went numb. Rick, his brother, the one always asking for favors, always broke, always surrounded by shady people. Arnold continued, "Stop worrying. She loves me. She'll sign anything. After the surgery story, she's desperate." I covered my mouth, terrified I would scream. "She'll be left with nothing," Rick laughed through the speaker. "Perfect for us." "Exactly," Arnold said. "Once we get the cash, we take the gold and leave the country. She'll never find us." The dessert container slipped from my shaking hands and hit the floor with a dull thud. Silence. Then Arnold's voice, "Kira, is that you?" I ran. I didn't grab my purse, my phone, anything. I just ran down the stairs, into the cold night, choking on my breath, tears blurring my vision. Everything I believed in collapsed in one moment. The love, the marriage, the sacrifices. All a lie. All for money. I wandered the streets until my legs felt numb, replaying every memory, every smile, every affectionate word. Was any of it real? Or had he been acting from the beginning? I sat on a bench, shivering, when a familiar voice called, "Kira?" I looked up. A tall man in a police jacket stood in front of me, holding a grocery bag. His expression shifted from surprise to concern. "Victor," I whispered. We went to school together. He used to sit behind me, always messing with his pen, dreaming about becoming a detective. He became one. "What happened?" he asked gently. And for the first time that night, I broke down. I told him everything. The illness, the surgery, the business sale, the phone call. His jaw clenched. "That bastard," he hissed. "Both of them." I stared at him through tears. "What do I do? I don't even know where to go." He sat beside me, placing his jacket around my shoulders. "You're not alone anymore," he said firmly. "And I promise you, they won't get away with this." His voice held something I desperately needed. Strength, determination, hope. And in that moment, I believed him. Victor insisted on walking me home, even though I kept saying I didn't want to go back there. The apartment felt poisoned now, filled with lies, manipulation, betrayal. But he refused to leave me alone in the middle of the night. When we reached the building, I hesitated at the entrance, staring up at the dark windows. "He's probably still inside," I whispered. Victor shook his head. "No, if he thinks you heard something, he'll run. Men like him don't wait around when their game is exposed." The word "men like him" stung. I had thought Arnold was different. I had believed in him more than anyone. Victor gently touched my arm. "Kira, listen to me. You loved him. You trusted him. That doesn't make you stupid. It makes him a monster." I swallowed hard, fighting the urge to cry again. What do I do now? He looked straight into my eyes. We fight back. We went to a nearby cafe that stayed open late. The lights were warm, the smell of coffee comforting, but I felt numb. Victor ordered tea for me and sat across the table, pulling out a small notebook. "Tell me everything," he said. So I did. I told him about the business sale negotiations, the clinic abroad, the desperate rush to finalize contracts, about Arnold pushing me to hurry, saying time was running out, about Rick calling constantly with updates on clinics, surgeons, prices. Victor listened attentively, occasionally scribbling notes. When I finished, he leaned back, expression dark. This wasn't spontaneous. They planned this from the beginning. What do you mean? I whispered. Think about it. The collapse at the dinner, the dramatic diagnosis, the urgency to get money fast, the pressure to sell your business. It's a classic fraud pattern. My stomach twisted. So he's not sick? Victor exhaled slowly. He might have some condition, but the sudden worsening, the timing, I'd bet it's exaggerated, maybe even staged. I felt sick. All the fear, the sleepless nights, the guilt that I wasn't doing enough. Were they just tools? Weapons to control me? Why? I whispered. Why would he do this to me? Victor's voice softened. Because you have something he wants. My business? No, your trust. Your willingness to sacrifice everything, that's more valuable than money. It makes you easy to manipulate. The words cut deep, but they felt true. Then he leaned forward, eyes sharp. But now we use that against them. Use it? I repeated, confused. A slow, confident smile appeared on his lips. I can help you set a trap. He explained his idea. According to police intelligence, Rick had connections to criminal buyers who dealt in precious metals. If Arnold planned to disappear, they wouldn't take cash. They'd want gold or something untraceable. What if, Victor said, lowering his voice, you sell your business, but not for money? I stared at him. You mean gold? He nodded. Gold bars are perfect bait, and I can get a special kind. Confiscated counterfeit used for police operations. It looks real, weighs right, passes casual tests, but once anyone tries to sell it, it exposes them. My eyes widened. You're suggesting we give them fake gold? Exactly, he said. They steal it, try to sell it, get caught by criminal intermediaries, and suddenly both the police and the underworld want their heads. It sounded dangerous, risky, illegal even. Isn't that too much? I asked quietly. Victor smirked. They wanted to destroy your life. I want them to destroy their own. For the first time since hearing Arnold's betrayal, I felt something other than pain. I felt fire. Yes, I whispered. Let's do it. Victor squeezed my hand gently, not romantically, but supportively. Good. We'll do it smart. We'll do it legally. And we'll make sure you walk away safe. The next week was a blur. I finalized the sale of my business, pretending everything was normal. My employees cried during the farewell meeting. They hugged me, thanked me, wished Arnold a successful surgery. I smiled and lied through my teeth. When the buyer transferred gold bars to the safe deposit box, real ones, I exchanged them with Victor's help for identical-looking counterfeit bars provided for undercover operations. I thought I would feel guilt. But all I felt was determination. If Arnold wanted to play games, he would lose. The night everything changed, I came home from the store with groceries, rehearsing what I would say when Arnold asked about the money. I opened the door. Silence. No lights. No voice calling my name. Arnold? I called. Nothing. I walked into the living room. The suitcase was gone. The files were gone. The safe was open, empty. My heart pounded as I rushed to the bedroom. The drawers were pulled out, clothes missing. Only a single folded piece of paper lay on the bed. My hands shook as I picked it up. Kira, I couldn't watch you suffer anymore. I'm leaving for the operation. If it succeeds, I will return. Please don't look for me. I love you. No signature. Just a heart drawn at the bottom. My breath turned cold. The bastard actually did it. He took the gold. He ran. He left me with nothing. Except, I smiled. Because I knew what he didn't know. He took the fake gold. I called Victor. They're gone, I said simply. Good, he replied. Now we wait. His tone sent shivers down my spine. Not fear, but anticipation. What do you think they'll do? They'll try to sell it through Rick's criminal contacts, he said. And when those contacts realize they've been given counterfeit, he paused. Well, let's just say the criminal world has its own justice system. I swallowed. Will they hurt them? Victor's voice was calm. They'll do far worse than anything the legal system would. A part of me wanted to protest. Another part whispered, they deserve it. And that part was louder. 3 days later, Victor called again. It's done. I sat up in bed. What happened? Rick tried to sell the gold. The buyers discovered it was fake. They dragged both brothers to a warehouse, planning to torture them for scamming them. I covered my mouth. But we intervened. Victor continued. Police raided the place. We arrested everyone. Arnold and Rick are facing long sentences. I exhaled shakily. So it's over. Yes, he said softly. It's over. I lay back, staring at the ceiling. Not crying, not smiling, just empty. Because when revenge ends, you're left with the ruins. Victor visited that evening. He brought food, as if sensing I hadn't eaten. We sat in silence for a while until he spoke. Kira, you didn't lose everything. I looked at him bitterly. I lost my husband, my business, my future. He shook his head. You lost a parasite. You gained freedom. His voice was steady, reassuring. And you have me, he added quietly. I met his eyes. There was warmth there. Real warmth. Not manipulation, not calculation. Something I thought I'd never feel again. I didn't expect the silence afterward to feel so heavy. For weeks, my life had been filled with constant tension. Negotiations, lies, betrayal, planning revenge, waiting for consequences. Now that everything had collapsed on Arnold and Rick, I woke up in a quiet apartment that suddenly felt too big, too empty, too still. People always think justice brings relief. They never talk about the aftermath, about waking up and realizing that the person you once loved, truly loved, was capable of destroying you without hesitation. About questioning every memory, every touch, every I love you. Was any of it real? Or was I just a convenient wallet wrapped in affection? I tried to return to normal routines, cooking, reading, going for walks. But everything reminded me of him. The kitchen felt like a stage where I had performed for someone who never valued it. The sofa felt like a place where I had sat next to a stranger wearing my husband's face. Even the bed felt contaminated. I started sleeping on the couch. One evening I was staring at the ceiling, wrapped in a blanket, when my phone buzzed. Victor, are you home? I hesitated, then typed, yes. A few minutes later, a knock on the door. I opened it, expecting him to come in confidently like always, but instead he stood there awkwardly, holding a small potted plant. A housewarming gift, he said. I blinked. I've lived here for years. He smiled slightly. Then consider it a new beginning. We sat in the kitchen, drinking tea. The plant, a tiny green thing with broad leaves, sat between us. It's called a Zamioculcas, Victor explained. Almost impossible to kill. Even if you forget to water it, it survives. I figured you needed something stable. I laughed softly despite myself. What are you implying? That I'm careless? No, he said, meeting my eyes. That you've been the one keeping everyone else alive for too long. It's time someone or something survived for you. The words hit deeper than he probably intended. No one had ever framed my sacrifices that way. With Arnold, everything I gave was expected. With Victor, everything I gave was noticed. Days turned into a new kind of routine. Victor checked in often, not in a controlling way, but supportive. Sometimes he brought food, sometimes we went for walks, sometimes we just talked. He never pushed, never demanded, never tried to fill Arnold's place. One evening, while we sat on a park bench watching the city lights, he said quietly, "You know, I've seen many victims of fraud. They break in different ways. Some become bitter. Some destroy themselves trying to understand. Some chase revenge forever." "And me?" I asked. "You fought back," he said, "but you didn't lose yourself." I looked away. I feel like I did. "No," he replied. "If you had, you wouldn't care about feeling anything now." His certainty scared me, because part of me wanted to believe him. Part of me wanted to let someone care for me. But another part whispered, what if it happens again? What if he leaves too? Victor must have sensed my thoughts because he added, "I'm not asking for anything, I just want you to heal." 2 weeks later, the prosecutor called. Arnold had confessed. Not out of remorse. He thought cooperating would reduce his sentence. He admitted he never intended to return, that he planned to disappear abroad with Rick, using the money from selling the gold, that the illness was exaggerated, that he had rehearsed collapsing. Hearing it confirmed destroyed something final inside me. I hung up the phone and sat in silence, tears sliding down my cheeks, not because I still loved him, but because the version of him I loved had never existed. It was mourning a ghost. That night, I called Victor. "I don't want to be alone," I whispered. He came immediately. We didn't kiss. We didn't touch. He simply sat next to me on the couch and let me cry into his shoulder. No questions, no judgments, just presence. No one had ever held me like that. Not even Arnold. Not with patience. Not with compassion. When I finally stopped crying, exhausted and drained, Victor brushed a strand of hair behind my ear. "You deserved better from the start," he said softly. His voice trembled slightly, and that vulnerability made my chest tighten. "Victor," he shook his head, "not now. You need time, and I'm willing to wait." No grand declarations, no pressure, just quiet sincerity. It terrified me and comforted me. The next morning I woke up still leaning against him. He had fallen asleep sitting upright, head tilted back, mouth slightly open. He looked peaceful, almost boyish. For the first time in a long time, I felt safe. Not because someone promised to protect me, but because someone chose to stay. I gently touched his hand. He opened his eyes and smiled sleepily. "Good morning." Something warm bloomed inside me. "Good morning," I whispered back. Life slowly shifted. We started cooking together, laughing, sharing stories. He told me about his childhood, his career, his failed relationship. I told him about my dreams before Arnold, dreams I had buried. And somewhere along the way, my home stopped feeling empty. One evening, while we were washing dishes, I caught myself humming. Victor glanced at me, amused. "That's new." "What?" I asked. "You sound happy?" I froze. Was I? The realization startled me. I nodded slowly. "I think I'm learning to be." The true turning point came unexpectedly. We were walking through a weekend market, surrounded by music and chatter, when an elderly woman selling handmade bracelets grabbed my hand. She looked at me with sharp, knowing eyes. "You lost something precious," she said. I tensed, ready to pull away. "But you found something stronger," she continued, nodding toward Victor. I glanced at him. He was smiling at a dog passing by, completely unaware of the conversation. The woman pressed a simple bracelet made of red thread into my palm. "For protection," she said. "Not from others. From yourself. From doubt." I paid her and walked away, heart pounding. Victor noticed the bracelet. "Pretty," he said. "Does it mean something?" I looked at him. "Yes," I whispered. "It does." That night, when he walked me home, I stopped him at the door. "Victor," he turned. "Yes? I'm ready." His breath caught. "For what?" I stepped closer. "For us." The look in his eyes, relief, joy, tenderness, was overwhelming. He leaned in slowly, giving me every chance to pull away. I didn't. Our first kiss wasn't explosive or desperate. It was gentle, warm, certain, the kind of kiss that didn't demand anything, the kind that promised everything. For the first time since the nightmare began, I felt alive again. Not because revenge was complete, but because I finally understood. Revenge ends. Love builds. And I was ready to build. I thought closure would come the moment justice was served. That once Arnold and Rick were behind bars, once the lies were exposed, once the last thread connecting me to that nightmare was cut, I would feel free. But freedom doesn't arrive with a court sentence. It comes quietly, in moments you don't expect. A month passed. The prosecutor called again to inform me that Arnold and Rick had been transferred to a long-term facility. The judge had denied early release. Their partners in crime had turned on them, and additional charges were filed. Fraud, conspiracy, attempted financial exploitation. In the criminal world, betrayal wasn't just illegal. It was unforgivable. They would spend years locked away. When I hung up, I didn't feel triumph. I felt nothing. Just a slow exhale, like releasing a weight I had carried for too long. The real closure wasn't punishment. It was indifference. Life with Victor continued to unfold naturally. He never tried to replace Arnold. He never acted like a savior. He simply existed beside me, steady and patient, giving me space, but never letting me feel abandoned. One evening, while we cooked dinner, I accidentally knocked over a glass bowl. It shattered across the floor. The sound was sharp, violent, startling. My heart raced, memories flashing, shouts, accusations, Arnold rolling his eyes, mocking, "Can't you do anything right?" I froze, trembling. Victor stepped toward me, but not with annoyance, not with anger. He gently touched my shoulder. "It's just a bowl," he said softly. "Nothing more." The kindness in his voice broke something inside me. I sank to the floor, tears spilling. "I'm sorry," I whispered, hating how automatic the apology felt. Victor knelt beside me. Never apologize for being human. No one had ever given me that grace before. In that moment, I realized how deeply Arnold's manipulation had rooted itself in me. Healing wasn't about finding someone new. It was about unlearning the damage. Weeks later, a letter arrived. The return address, the correctional facility. My hands shook as I opened it. Arnold's handwriting stared back at me, messy, rushed. "Kira, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for things to go this far. I loved you in my own way. Please visit me. I need you." A familiar ache tightened my chest. For years I had lived for that voice, for the smallest crumbs of affection. Now the words felt hollow, manipulative, desperate. I folded the letter carefully, placed it back in the envelope, walked to the trash, and dropped it in. No ceremony, no hesitation. I whispered, "You don't get to need me anymore." And just like that, the last emotional chain snapped. Spring arrived, the city softened. Warmer air, blooming trees, markets reopening. Victor and I spent more time outside, walking hand in hand, talking about everything and nothing. One Sunday morning, we visited a small lakeside town. We rented a paddle boat, laughing as we tried to steer in a straight line and failed miserably. When we finally reached the middle of the lake, the water calm around us, Victor leaned back and watched me with that quiet, thoughtful expression he had. "What?" I asked, smiling. "I was just thinking," he said slowly, "that if someone showed me a list of everything you've been through, I wouldn't believe you could still smile like this." I looked at the reflection of the sky rippling around us. I didn't think I'd ever smile like this again. He reached for my hand. "You deserve happiness, Kira. Not despite your past. After it." His words settled deep inside me. For the first time, I truly believed them. That evening, when we returned to my apartment, I noticed the small plant he had given me months ago. The leaves were brighter, fuller, alive, thriving. I touched one gently and laughed. I didn't kill it. Victor wrapped his arms around me from behind. Maybe because someone finally started taking care of herself. I leaned back against him, feeling warmth spread through me. Not adrenaline, not relief. Peace. Later that night, as we lay together, the window open to let in the cool spring breeze, Victor whispered, "Can I ask you something?" What do you want your life to look like now? Not what you think is realistic. What you want." I thought for a long moment. My answer surprised me. I want to live without fear. I want to wake up and not wonder who's lying to me. I want love that's steady, not dramatic. I want someone who chooses me every day. Victor kissed the top of my head. That's exactly what I want too. Then, after a pause, he added, "And I choose you." No grand speeches, no promises written in fire, just quiet truth. A few days later, I visited the market again and saw the elderly woman who had given me the bracelet. She recognized me instantly. "You're glowing," she said with a knowing smile. I laughed. "Am I?" "Oh, yes," she replied. "The heart heals when it is seen." I bought another bracelet, this time a matching one. When I returned home, I placed it on Victor's wrist. He looked at it, then at me. "For protection?" he asked. I shook my head. "For connection." His fingers intertwined with mine. "Then I'll wear it always." Sometimes I still think about the life I almost lost. The years I spent giving everything to someone who saw me as a resource, not a partner. The dreams I buried. The love I wasted. But those thoughts no longer hurt. They remind me of how far I've come, of what I will never allow again, of the strength I never knew I had. Now when I wake up and see Victor beside me, breathing softly, peaceful and real, I feel something simple and profound. Gratitude, not just for him, but for myself, for surviving, for choosing better, for believing I deserved more. People say revenge brings satisfaction. They're wrong. Revenge ends. Silence returns. But rebuilding, loving again, living again, that's where true victory begins. I didn't just escape a lie. I built a life. And this time, it's real.